Well, welcome back, Heather,
Hi,
to
Bruce.
Can I Get a Word with You today? How fun
Yes.
is this becoming? Isn't this it's so much fun for me, and I hope the audience is grabbing a word and grabbing something to charge their mindset and think about how they're thinking and all that kind of stuff. And so tell me, Heather, what have you been up to?
Oh, man. Well, as you know, I'm a realtor, so that has been a crazy world. And so I do that part of the time. And then also just enjoying doing a lot of podcasts and connecting with people about Soul-Selfie coming out. And I love it. I love to be able to dialogue about the things like this, like some of these words that we have come up with that we both write a lot about.
Yeah, so your blog and your website is heathercarterwrites.com, right? And folks can
Absolutely.
reach you on Soul-Selfie blog on Facebook and Instagram to stay all current with what you're writing and kind of news about you, etc. So that's exciting. Very excited about your book and kind of what you're doing with that, and just spreading goodness across the universe.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love that we've been able to connect over, well, hey, I just used our word of the day. I didn't even think about that, but we connected to each other. And that really what has uh, helped us connect with you all. And you can connect better with Bruce if you go to above the chatter, ourwordsmatter.com for his
Yep.
website, correct? And then
Yep.
above the chatter, Bruce Pulver for Instagram and Facebook. So
That's right.
he has a great Facebook presence and just is real. So I love when you do your walking and talking. What's it called? Is
Yeah,
that
on Saturday mornings, about 10 o'clock Eastern, here in
yeah?
Atlanta, I do what's called the Saturday morning walk and talk. And what we try to do there is just pick a word that I'd written that week, or something that has been on my heart, or maybe something out of the book, and just do a little 10-minute walk and just say, what has this word been meaning to me? And it gives me some exercise, and just
Mm-hmm.
to share some ideas. And it's a really good community of folks that join in and comment out, and just try to start the weekend off with an inspirational message as I walk and talk. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Well,
what
thanks
that's
for letting me jump in so you don't have to talk to yourself.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, this is great. This is great. And I love the fact that you're kind of just getting out there and doing podcasts, right? I mean, we're doing ours, but it's also really fun to be on others because you're supporting kind of their audience and what they're looking for, and the folks that are reaching out to them. And I've been fortunate to be doing several of those. I was in Dallas a week ago. I did an event with Trevor Houston called Who You Know, which is a show he does for those that
mm-hmm.
are career networking, looking for jobs, looking to step into their next career, and just a really good dialogue. So there's a lot good that's going on, and we have done what we've done a lot of connecting, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the word we want to spend a little bit of time talking about. So I know you've written a lot about that, about making a connection or connecting. Tell me more about that, and tell me kind of where your head's at when you think about connecting, especially in the times that we're in, where maybe
Right.
it's even a little more effort that we have to put in to do that.
Right. Well, I think the fact just that so many people have started podcasts during the pandemic tells us that people were are longing to connect. We don't want to be isolated and home just, as much as we love our families, we don't really want to be with just our families indefinitely. So people are
Right.
coming up with creative ways to connect with other people, and this has been, people constantly starting their own podcast just to be able to dialogue about life.
Yeah. And
um,
what I've found with this is that you get good at what you practice, you attract what you put out, those sorts
mhm,
of things, the magnetic nature of it.
right.
And there are so many wonderful podcasts, many of which we've guested on, where folks are really trying to help others, or they're trying to spread hope, or they're really trying to encourage others to make sure that folks know they're not alone. And that is a really good way to connect, and that is to plug into those podcasts or get on a social media that does have a positive spin to it, a positive conversation, because the other, we know which direction that goes. So just looking for hope, looking for that rung of that ladder, looking for someone to help, someone to help us. It just seems like it's such a need. And I'm glad, hopefully we're filling a little bit of that just with can I get a word with you? The power of a single word, the power of a single concept. that folks can take and use with their day and use with their week.
Yeah, I love the idea of connection, because not only do we want to connect with each other, which is huge. I think that God designed us to need each other, not to live in isolation. But I write a lot in Soul-Selfie about, really the number one reason that I write is to let other people know that they're not alone in their struggles. So sometimes we can be present, or at least in the physical vicinity of other people, but that doesn't mean we're vulnerable and open with those people that we're around all the time. So my purpose in writing is just to share my heart and what I'm struggling with and what I'm learning. And hopefully, like I've said, someone has to go first. Someone has to share the messiness of life first, so that other people feel like they have permission to share theirs. And I don't work hard at it. It just comes pretty naturally that I want to share that, so that I can connect with other people and they feel like they're not alone in their struggles. And that's a very important thing for me.
Yeah, you struck on something that just oozed through my mind as you were chatting about it, and that is, we might be in a group where we're not alone, but we can feel very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to connect. And I love, sharing first, right? Here's something that I'm going through. It's not like you're looking for a piling on session. That's not it at all. We're not trying to admire our problems, right? We don't want to, give them kudos. But if someone can say, I can relate to that. I'm struggling with, the kids at home at school, and a work from home hybrid, and my husband or wife who's been traveling or not traveling now, and all that dynamic has changed. I feel lonely in that, even though they're all here. I don't know how to express that. And so your platform of your blog, and hopefully this platform, and just sharing a word and giving some encouragement and something that's activational, I applaud you for that. Thank you for doing that. It's powerful. I love reading your stuff.
Well, I think that we connect with each other, but I also try to bring people to a connection with God, because we can, like you said, admire our problems together all day long, but that gets you on the solution side of things too, is to take them to God and to ask him to help you change. And so that is an important piece that sometimes I think we miss. We want to all share about how we have a lot of all our woes and all the things we struggle with, but then we never get to the part where there's hope at the end of it.
Yeah. And we sort of set an agreement when we started this podcast that said it's not a two-person podcast. God is definitely involved in this. God is part of the conversation, and to whatever level we can kind of bring what that means to us, to others that are listening, we're here for you. And whether that means a DM or a message or an email, if you're needing to talk to someone or want to reach out, Heather and I are both here, and can provide some resources and let help you out any way that we possibly can. So, the interesting thing to me about connection is that in this whole social media world, right, it's very easy to get connected.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, are we connecting? Same word, just the different suffix, right? We could have 5,000 people in our friend group or whatever in any of these social media channels, but how are we connecting? How are we really impacting each other, getting to a level that is mutually helping each other? And I think that's really important in that word connection or connect, is that you're not just plugged in, you're plugged in, and there's actually energy going back and forth through that visual extension cord, if you will, while we're connected.
Yeah, maybe it might be cool to kind of share. I know you've made a connection with a few other guys, and you guys have a weekly call and talk about how to sharpen each other and challenge each other. And that was all done kind of during COVID, and also just a lot of you have never met face to face, I think.
That's true. Isn't that amazing, right? So yeah, and I think this is, I'll take the hate mail on this, but I think it's harder for guys. I really think it's harder for guys to kind of sit down and have that connection. That's not about how big the fish was we caught, or how long the drive was we hit at the golf course. A lot of our conversations are often around performance of some kind. I don't necessarily mean acquisition or, you know, trips or big houses, but a lot of times we talk about stuff, like not ideas, right? And so there's a group that I'm involved in, and anyone that's interested in this, just message me. It's called In His Grip Ministries, and In His Grip Golf. It's a group of golfers. Actually, is where it started. A guy named Scott Lehman out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he has a community of guys. It's basically golf course related, but I'm from Atlanta, they're from Nashville, and I Zoom in every Wednesday. What we do is every day we are in a chapter of the Bible, and now we're going through Proverbs. So Proverbs 1 was January 1. So Proverbs, go through each day. And then you pick a verse that lands on your heart as you read that chapter. And you write that verse down. That's the G of God's word. Then the R is you write down a sentence or two or three of what did that verse reveal to you? When it jumped out at you, when it touched your heart, what did it reveal to you? It might be about just circumstances in the world, or difficulties, or opportunities, or where we should be leaning in, or what the lesson is. And there's not a wrong answer. It's what is it revealing to you? Then the I in grip is how can I go about implementing what I'm writing about, that reveal? What should I do to implement that verse in my life today? And then the P is simply a prayer to close out your time in the Bible. So it's a real simple, 15-minute, 30-minute, 10-minute writing, and then we share those out during the week. And on Wednesday night, we pick one verse that we all grip together on a Zoom. You're right. I've met a few of these guys, but most I haven't. But the conversations will then go in an hour's time from the grip, because someone will talk about a work challenge, a relationship, a chemical challenge, a financial challenge. And the guys are all there saying, man, you're not by yourself. And right. What can we do emotionally and spiritually to lift you? Are there actions we can take? Hey, I know someone in, Jackson, Mississippi that might be looking for someone with your skills. It's just a community that kind of the barriers are down, and it's sort of the circle of trust. So that's just one way that social media has really helped me connect in, this time that we've all been going through.
Yeah. And I think the key to all of that is intentionality. Like if you intentionally ask the questions that typically go unasked or undiscussed, that's probably not a word. Your word, guys, is that a word?
Sure.
Not discussed. If you bring those up, it's probably impressive how people are willing to talk about them if you go first.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly, I think, what you're saying. With your blog, you're laying some things out there for folks to read. So at heathercarterwrites.com, and I know you've got it all indexed, and if someone is looking for a theme, a word, a concept, a topic, a challenge, it's really easy to find a word, read on it, and then, hopefully get some wisdom of not, and I love the way you write. It's not, this is the solution, I figured this thing out, it's wrapped up in a bow. Your writing is really, I didn't like it that car pulled out in front of me today, or, the carpool line, you have some things about that you talk about. It's like, oh, I'm really frustrated about, and, you're out there and you're real. And I think that's really important to be able to do that, because it's the energy and it's the emotion that we have to feel. We have to kind of go through that. And I love the way you set that up, you tee that up, and you make a connection with your readers, just like we're all trying to do with each other.
Yeah, I do. I really want to connect with people. I've kind of been like that my whole life. I realized recently, I'm always trying to make some point of connection with people. As a realtor, I noticed that. And as I look back on my life, I actually started a women's study, Bible study, or not a women's ministry at our church probably 25 years ago. And it was called Connections, because my whole goal was to connect with them with each other, and connect all of them to God. And even in the back of my book, my newest book, the Soul-Selfie #NoFilter, I have instructions about how to do a book study. And basically what it entails is reading the book out loud in a session, reading one entry, and then everyone going around the circle, if you will, and reflecting on it out loud. And it might be you read about resentment, and then everyone has a chance to talk. And it's really amazing how, when I've done it in groups before, that how many people will share when they're just given a turn. If you leave it up to chance, then big mouth people like me talk the whole time and fill in the silence. And then those quiet people never actually get to talk. So if you just give everyone a turn, people just pour out their heart. There's people crying and people sharing things that are deep rooted in there that they just have no one's ever asked them to talk about it.
So just create the topic, create the circle, go first. So let me ask you a question about that. Let's say that I'm really looking for a connection and I feel isolated. I don't really know where to turn. I love what you're saying, Heather. How would you suggest someone take a little step, take a baby step to change that and to reach out, to connect when they feel maybe restrained?
I think that it's scary for some people to do that. For me, that's not a problem because I probably tend to overdo it in that area. But I know for some people, they're scared or they fear rejection. And I have definitely had people, I'll reach out to someone and they just never respond, or they don't really want to get together. They got too many friends or fine. But I think one of the things I've done a lot, especially during the last couple of years where we're isolated more, so we're on social media more, is actually have a friend that I used to go to church with 10 or 12 years ago. And I saw on Facebook she was struggling with depression and really motivation to even get out of her house. And we weren't really close, but enough where I knew her, and that made me sad. And I said, why don't you come over for coffee this week? And so she's coming over. Maybe that's how you go first. Maybe you're lonely, but instead of whining about it, maybe you reach out to someone else who might be more lonely.
So to get a connection, be a connection in some small way.
Right.
Take someone's mail to them that they may be, their mobility is low. Just go to their mailbox and take it into them, or deliver something, or say hello to someone that or reach out to someone. Yeah, I think those are great ideas because it's hard. And I'm a huge believer in the word incremental. First of all, the second two syllables are mental, or the last two syllables are mental, because I think you have to make conscious small steps to do things. And connections is one way. You just kind of start, and then, you're right. You're going to get the no thanks, but you're also going to get the connection where someone's saying, "Wow, I really needed to hear that today." Saying something kind to someone sincerely is a really good way to get a connection started, especially when you need one. Yeah, you reach out first.
I was thinking, it's very easy to isolate during these times when we're kind of forced into some isolation. One of the movies that during the time when I had leukemia, and a lot of times it was kind of like being quarantined. I mean, I would go to the hospital and come out, and I had a couple days where I was feeling okay. And then I would go neutropenic, which meant basically you can't leave your house and no one can come to your house, because if you catch anything, you'll die. I mean, it's pretty serious, but you don't feel bad. Kind of that also reminded me of COVID. Yeah. If you don't have COVID, but you still can't go out and you still can't have people over, it's just like a weird, you're like, I feel fine, but I can't be around any people. And during that time, I watched a movie. I don't know do you remember that movie called 127 Hours? It had James Franco in it. And in the movie, he goes hiking and he gets wedged between two big rocks. And it's a true story. And spoiler alert, he ends up having to saw his own arm off to get free, because he is there for several days and he has no water. He's in the desert. And one of the phrases I remember him saying was how he was reflecting how he had isolated himself so much from his family and his friends to the point where he had told no one where he was going. So he knew no one was looking for him, at least where he was. And the line he said that was so powerful was, he said, "This rock has been waiting for me my whole life."
Wow. Wow.
And I just thought that, we all have been at that place, and some of us are there now, or that rock is just waiting for us. And, going through leukemia, I had developed a community, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about the community thing, about how we have to cultivate the community before the catastrophe. If you're isolated and something happens, you've got no one to help you. So it's an important thing to do incrementally now, so that when the big stuff comes, you're taken care of,
Yeah. Wow. No, you're right. Nothing worse than being alone and not having, and kind of knowing that there's no one. Yeah, that's not a good feeling. 127 days. I'll have to look.
177 hours.
177 hours. Okay, got it. Wow. Well, let's bring this in for a landing. We talked about connecting. Are we connected, and are we connecting? And taking the first step. Feeling isolated. Let me break down the word connection for us, because I think that's really what it is. There's a lot of letters in here. We'll put it in the notes, but I like to write the words vertically, as you know. And I wrote this more thinking about being a connection. Like, what would it, because I do believe we kind of had that as a trigger, or maybe even a seed you plant. If you want to get connected, be a connection, right? So I wrote C, call a person on your heart. Call them, text them, or they come to mind, reach out. There's a reason I believe that happens. The O is only you know who that is. So you make that reach out, you're going to be the one person, and that person just say, "Wow, I'm so glad that you reached out to me." And they may even say, "I've been thinking about you as well." The N is no excuses. Like, make the call. Like, it's you're always too busy, but you got to make it. The second N is never pass on the urge. How many times have you called on someone and it was just the perfect timing because you did it as soon as that urge was there? And it might be a drive-by, it might be a call, it might be, a letter that you write. It doesn't necessarily have to be, physically that moment. The E is express what they mean to you. That's sometimes the hardest thing to do is, maybe if there is something that you need to overcome, or there's some situation between you that might be holding you back, just express what they really do mean to you. Specifically, I remember when we were in high school together, or I remember when we, sang that cantata together, or I remember when we were on that softball team. Just be specific about that. Call, not tomorrow, but now. You can tell I'm sensing urgency about that connection. You know what? Tell them you love them. I mean, I don't know about you, but that has just become like such an acceptable and a right word to say to somebody, especially, if they've done something for you, but it's not a 30-year relationship. Man, I love you, man. I thank you for doing that. It means the world to me that you reached out, right? It could just save a life is the I. O is, the impact you'll have. And the N is, now do it again tomorrow. So that's my way of connection. It's like, take that activity and it's going to mean something to someone, especially if you need a connection. I love that. Be a connection. So Heather, any closing thoughts?
Yes, I'm finishing writing notes about your little acrostic. I think I'm going to do that every time. That'll be part of it. I'm going to take notes on your acrostic.
We'll, of course, post them and make sure everybody gets access to them. And most of these are in my book, Above the Chatter, Our Words Matter. And, Soul-Selfie, No Filter. It's a new one. A lot of great messaging, a lot of great, just focus, and a lot of great, insight. And Heather, I just so enjoyed this talk. And I hope, it's between you and I, but, we're getting the word together, and I'm just hoping this is having some impact. So if it is, share this out. Tell your friends, write a comment, like and share, as they say. So until next time, Heather.
All right.
Have a great day.
See ya.
We'll see you. Okay. Bye-bye.